right? The fights that were started by the Gandhis and then Mandelas and the kings, and the answers that those three individuals and others and magnificent people created. And we are left wondering, why in the world have we not been able to manifest, to create those magical dreams and missions that those individuals lived by? And I assert that that is because we're looking at their answers, not their questions. And if one were to look at the questions are what has us discover ourselves in the moment of being alive. The answers have us wondering if we made it. And good luck with that one, because so long as you're alive, you can't have made it.
Oh, I
You're always
love
in the
that.
process of discovering it.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
And so, as we have been pinging back and forth this last week with the debates and our president getting COVID and all of this shit, right? Forgive the language, but you got to swear every once in a while because, God damn it, sometimes it just freaking sucks, right? It's just the way life
Right.
is.
It is.
And we've been pinging back and forth and wondering what the heck is going on. And this conversation is how to pull it together so that instead of having the energy that is around you, the whirlwind in which we live in, right? The task of human being is to find themselves, to create space, to be, to live from the center, right? To be in the whirlwind and not to be thrown.
Mm. So many times when we say, like, oh, they made me, this is just like what's coming up for me. And I've been actually coaching a lot on this recently. Someone made me feel this way, right? Or I'm feeling out of control, or I don't know why that happened. I just, when this happens, this is how I react. And that's just how I react.
Right.
And what I just heard you say, right, is that how can we, yeah, find our center and find our calm and understand that things don't happen, that while they happen to us, right? One, they happen for us. And two, that we are in control of our response to what happens. And so when it feels like chaos and when it feels like a tornado going on in your life, right? Nothing can unroot you from your place of being and your place of centeredness if you know where that is and you have trained yourself and your mind and your body and your energy in that.
It's even more fundamental, though, in being in charge of the response. We are actually in charge of the experience of it to begin with.
Yes.
Right? We can either
Yes.
accept what is offered by life as an offering or as an attack or anything between.
Mm-hmm.
And as we have the experience of whatever is coming in, be whatever it is, the choices that we have to respond arise from that offering, from the way that we view it. And so, how do we create the space for things to occur? And then what do we do with them? And so this is going to be a conversation in 3 different poems. I'm excited to share them with you. I think that we're ready to jump into the first one.
Amazing. Let's
You
do
ready to
it.
go?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen here. That's my email. So the first poem is Invictus by William Ernest Henley. So this is the poem that I use to remind me, and this is the poem that Nelson Mandela used to remind him that he was beyond the circumstances of his life. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced, not cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And it's beautiful for me because I can feel the gold and I can feel the silver and I can feel all the other precious metals as I remind myself of this, just melding with my cells. What's your experience of this?
So I think can we go to back to the speakers as we talk, and then we can revisit the shared screen? Is that
Of
okay with
course,
you?
definitely.
Awesome. So then I can see you as I'm talking to you.
Good.
So I mean, I think that is what you said, right? That our circumstance doesn't dictate our experience. And that last piece, or what is the part where it says, shall find me unafraid, right? Like if something looms, and this is only the second time I've ever seen the poem, but that's like the second time reading it, that's what struck to me, is that it shall find me unafraid. And at the end, right, I'm the captain of my soul. And so understanding that we're the driver, right? And that we get to create and decide. And I think that piece of decide is responsibility and ownership of the circumstance at hand that creates our experience.
That's right. Because the truth is that either we are sharing our shadow in life or we are sharing our light.
Can you
We
speak
are
more on that?
either sharing the shade that was spoken about in that poem, or we are sharing our light. We are sharing our fear. We are sharing our anxiety. We're sharing our worry. We're sharing our concern. And we are wondering how it is that we can address those things. And that's how we act. We act from the fear, the worry, the concern. And then around us, we find things to be fearful, worried, and concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, that becomes our life. That becomes who we are.
It's that quote of like, wherever your focus goes, that's what grows.
Whatever animal you're feeding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's like, and so I hope everyone, like, can everyone just like take a second, whether you're watching this now or in the replay, like just think about that, right? If you focus on worry, you'll have more worry. If you focus on your anxiety, you'll have more anxiety. If you focus on gratitude or joy or love or connection, and you focus on it and you see it and you feed that, that's what's going to grow. And so many times we think that like those things happen to us and that we don't have control over them. But that's just simply, that's a lie. That's not true. We do. And the sooner that you realize it and learn how to focus and learn how to be and learn how to cultivate those things, that's when you get to create more of those things in your life, right? Which to me, Rahim, is kind of like the secret, right? The secret teaches about the physical manifestation, right? It talks about the Lamborghini and it talks about the paycheck and it talks about the person and it talks about all of that, right?
Yes.
But then Danielle Laporte in The Core Desired Feelings, if anyone's read that, strongly recommend it. She says that like you can get exactly what you want and never feel exactly how you want, because it's not the thing, right, that you have to focus on. It's the feeling. It's the what you want to create in life, and you're feeling and focusing.
Yes.
Focus on that and create more of that. And
Absolutely.
and is that the piece when you're saying we're moving out of the age of productivity, creating and manifesting, right? Is that the piece is that what you're talking about?
It's exactly right. In the previous life, in the previous world, it was not necessary for us to create an empowered state. It was not necessary for us to maintain a frequency that allowed us to interact from a consciousness perspective of the world. But now that we are moving from production to consciousness, where the dignity no longer will be the euro and the dollar and the yen, but the currency will no longer be the euro and the dollar and the yen, but in fact, dignity, for us to have the power, for us to have the space to share with the world our light, our dignity, our consciousness. That is the training that we are all under right now.
And so this is the other thought I just had with this. We don't have to wait. We don't have to wait for the currency to change, right? All we have to do is decide and say, this is what my new form, like this is where I'm putting the weight. This is where I'm putting a focus. This is where I'm going to put my investment of time and energy and learning and growth into this space of dignity, into this space of consciousness. This is the coolest part too, is currency, the dollar, right? A lot of times someone else has to give it to us. We have to do something to get it, right? Like we have to wait for something outside of us to give us the currency. And in this case, this new way of living, this new way of consciousness, this new way of where we're going in life, again puts the power in our hands of we get to choose dignity. We get to focus on dignity. We get to cultivate dignity or whatever
Absolutely.
we want to create.
Absolutely. That brings us, I think, to the second poem. You ready?
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So this one, I'll just close this one down here. By Marianne Williamson, Our Greatest Fear. Our greatest fear it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. What's going on for you?
I mean, that's one of my favorite excerpts and poems and quotes and of all time. Um, and Glennon Doyle, I can't remember what her exact quote is, but it's something about like when you don't just liberate one, right? When you liberate yourself, you're not just liberating yourself, you're liberating everyone else. And so many times, right? And Marianne Williamson talks about love and fear. And so many times we're dictated, our life and everything and our responses or whatever is dictated out of fear, right? Fear of not belonging, ultimately fear of death, right? And we think that by playing small, right, out of fear is serving the world because we can make someone else feel insecure or whatever else.
Well, it's not just playing small and having others, right, come down to our level, but it's playing small in that we don't really give our substance to life.
Exactly. And like
We
we're
don't really put
denying.
ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We're denying our gifts. We're denying our light. We're denying what God gave us, right? We're denying all of that, not just to others, but to ourselves and ultimately to the world and what can come from all of that. But when you shine your light, right, it just spreads more light.
Right.
It casts more light.
And to know that you can, and in fact must, choose to shine your light, even when you're feeling the most experience of darkness, the most experience of shadow, when you're calling out in pain, when you see others in pain. Those are the greatest opportunities for us to find light. We talked last time about Shiva and Parvati and Ganesh. And the Shiva is just opening his third eye, and that is his job, to transition the world. in that as we experience the dance of Shiva, right, we can be with the light of the beauty and the fertility and the spring and the newness of Parvati. And what arises is Ganesh, is the wisdom, is the knowledge, is the reason, is the wealth of having done that work. But what it takes is discovering that connection that only we can make through Shiva, through the destruction, through the transition to the light that we truly have within ourselves, that only we can make manifest. Only we can reflect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in order to do that, there's a couple things that have to happen, and I'd love to hear your input on this. One, you have to know that you matter, right? Because if you don't believe that your light or your essence or presence matters, right? You're not gonna shine your light. You're not gonna learn you're not gonna learn the confidence and the pep talks and the belief, right? In order to take the action to shine your light. So that's one. I think in
Yeah.
that, knowing that you matter is you got to believe in something greater than yourself, right? So if, for example, for me, like I do what I do because I believe in something greater than me. I believe that this legacy is just, passed on and carried on, and that when I die and my name is forgotten and no one knows who I am, that there is a legacy that I'm bringing that will continue on. That's bigger than my name, bigger than my face, bigger than my physical presence on earth. But we have to believe in something greater. And then the third piece is knowing, and this is like when my worthiness stuff comes in, but that you're worthy of having God give you something, or whatever you believe in, the universe, spirit, whatever, consciousness, giving you a light that is worth shining, right? You have to
Yes.
believe that you're worthy of embodying that. So those are like 3 points that I'd like to hear your thoughts on.
So for me, that's still looking outside of ourselves.
Mm.
For me, that's looking at a legacy. For me, that's looking at a future. For me, that's looking at something that is out there, over there. So a little bit more about my story. In 2017, I spent 4 months in bed. I had a skin disease that covered 25% of my body. And I got a massive dose of steroids to be able to cure that, because at around that range, around the 20% of that range, the skin is the largest organ of the body, right? It begins to shut down other organs. So it began to impact my heart and began to impact my kidneys. And, just imagine like what it was like. I had several doctors around my bed. And basically the thesis was, Rahim, you're going to die in a couple of weeks. You have to do all of this stuff. My wife was standing there and no one else was there. And I looked at them and I said, no, I'm going home. I'm done. You guys can do whatever the heck you want. I'm checking out. My wife just looked at me. She said, he's going home. That's it. And it wasn't because of my legacy. It wasn't because what I had to give. It was because I was alive. We are fundamentally the winners of evolution. We are the strongest. We are here. Each of us, by birthright, are here. That is all.
I love that perspective.
So, what are we going to do with the here-ness? I think we're ready for the third poem.
Amazing.
You want to read this one?
Sure, I can read
Okay.
this one. You're gonna have to go down.
Yeah,
I'll
go
like.
down.
Can you wait? Do you see me?
I do.
Okay, I can just like go like that. But I trust you can keep up with me.
I will keep up.
All right. The invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me in what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your sorrow, if you've been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not pretty and every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself, and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments.
Wow, my friend.
So
I,
that kind of brings it back.
it's amazing. What an amazing life that would be if
Mm.
we chose to live that way, if we chose to discover ourselves moment by moment in that way. It is a discovery of ourselves that allows that magic to occur.
It's coming from that place of curiosity, right? Like we talked about last time when you brought the Tabasco bottle out, right? And I knew it was Tabasco, but it had no labels. I mean, it's not, I don't want to know. I don't want to know who you're voting for. I don't want to know, yeah, where you studied or what degrees you have, right? I want to know how you are and when you look, when you cry, and what makes you cry, and what the last time that you cried or laughed and belly laughed, and who connected with you,
That's right.
right? And how do we get to that place?
Show me your substance. Show me who you are.
I remember in college, my favorite question to ask someone new would be like, tell me your story. I want to know everything about you, right? Even before their name or how they're doing, or I would cut the small talk and just say, I want to know your story. And I remember someone told me how like naive and shallow I was, and how could I expect someone to sum up a story, and whose trust did I earn, and all of that. And a few years ago, this was, I don't know, this is like almost 10 years ago, a few years ago, he messaged me. He said, I'm sorry for ever saying that, because that was really one of the only questions that I was ever asked. Not my
Right.
name or my religion or anything else, but who I was. And you showed interest in it.
That's right. There's three questions that we must answer, and we must continuously be able to choose to answer on a moment by moment basis. The questions are: who are we? What are we here for? Where are we going? And if you are able to answer those questions for yourself, there's no place in life you won't feel comfortable. There's no place in life you won't find home, because you're home in your body. This is the only thing you own. This is the only thing that is you. you, and you get to walk around with it. How fucking cool is that?
How liberating.
That, my friends, is how you live, be alive in this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Much love, my friend. By the way, there's meditation every day at 8:30 Eastern time that allows us to find the space, the quietness. That allows us to remember to fill ourselves with light. Because if we're not filling ourselves with light on a regular practice-based basis, that we are doing it in ways that we can measure whether it is effective or not, then it's natural for us not to experience this. So please, I will put the information to
In
join
the
at that
comments.
in the comments, but 8:30 Eastern every evening that's occurring.
Thank you so much, Rahim. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Until next time, this
Blessings.
conversation continues.
Love you, Jillie.
I love you so much. So good.